Hello everyone, welcome back to Naomi's Bookshelf. This is not a typical book video. This is about me as a reader in some ways, as I want to talk about my homeschooling experience. Now, I know that many people are homeschooling their children now due to COVID, and I just want to say maybe some little tidbits of things I've picked up along the years being with different homeschool groups and different people. Also different things my mom has taught me throughout the years without realizing it. And I want to just share that wisdom and know that you can do this, and it's not going to be easy, but you can. And I know that everyone can accomplish it. It's not impossible, even though it might look like it from the outset. So I just want to preface this with a couple things. First of which, I am not a homeschool mom. I am not a mom. So I am not saying this as a parent. I do work with children, so in a way I'm a teacher, but I'm wanting to talk mostly about my mom's experience with homeschooling, also what I saw through my eyes with other children that I was engaged with or other teenagers I was engaged with along those lines as well. So you can maybe have little bits of advice if you want them. The second thing follows right along with that, and don't take my advice as law, don't take anyone's advice as law. Every family is different, and what will work for you might not work for someone else. And if someone has a perfect setup for them, it might not be good for you. So don't feel like you're failing because it just might not be the right fit. Now, also with this, I never really did a school curriculum. I did it for like 6 months and I hated it. And that's something I will talk about as learning styles come up. But I also want to say that if you are looking for different ways to reach your children, being creative is really the best thing to do. I mean, my mom was not an educated teacher. She never went to teaching school, and she taught 4 children at least from my grade 2 all the way to grade 12. And it was hard work, but she did it. And she knew that some days were really hard and she wanted to rip her hair out, but she also worked with what she had in her skill set and really just tried to play on that. So like I said, creativity is really important. Creativity is, I think, the foundation for a really great homeschooling parent. I've seen some homeschoolers who really burned out or homeschool parents who really burnt out because they just couldn't figure out how to take the school system and put it right into their home. And sometimes life just goes a little sideways and you just have to be creative. Maybe going for a nature walk is better than a science project, but at the same time, maybe living history is better. I remember when I was, 8, my mom read us the Madeline books with the 12 girls all in a row, and we recreated Paris on all of these poster boards through reading those books. We never experienced Paris, but I still remember that as a really great teaching moment, and how like the river runs past certain areas, but I don't really remember all of it. But my mom took these books and made them come alive and really taught us about Paris in a way that we would never have experienced in another way. Another thing that my mom did a lot of was taking from our own real lives experiences and really putting them out there into projects. And so we had some really bad fires here where my grandparents live, and in 2003, and we had some struggles. So we recreated a timeline of this with this little tape copying all of it and followed really what happened. And so this was something that really brought to light the fires and how they were destroying homes and how some of my family members were put on house alert or were evacuated. And this is something that my mom just took and said, this is a learning opportunity, and we're gonna learn about our history and our current day events and what's going on in our world situation. And so this is something where I'll always remember this, because my mom really let us learn from it and really look at newspaper articles and really discover what had happened with the fires and how that was going on. Another thing that I would like to say is if you take your kids' interests at heart. So if you have the freedom if you want to add in extra projects or extra little homeschooling activities, and say your child really loves cats, do a cats project. Learn about cats and learn about the science of them, because maybe your child isn't interested in biology, but if they love cats, they won't realize that they're learning about science. My mom knew I loved history as a child. Basically anything pre-World War II, I was obsessed with. And my mom really let me explore that. She let me do projects about the ancient world and all these things, and I had to write out these big pages and projects, but I didn't like writing, and so this was pushing me, but I enjoyed it. And my mom also knew that I was really interested in hymn writers. So I really loved learning about the origins of hymns, and so I would take a hymn and I would learn the origin of it, and I would write down about it, what the creator did, or what the writer thought was thinking, or what situations happened in their lives. So this is where my mom took my interest and jumped into it with a school project that I would enjoy, and I highly recommend doing that. Children get so much more out of it when they enjoy the topic that they're learning about. It's not boring, it's fun. Another thing that my mom really taught me about homeschooling is you have to be flexible with learning abilities. My brother has dyslexia, so does my youngest sister, Joelle. So she had extra work on her hands as a teacher. She didn't just have 4 children, she had 4 children, 2 of which struggled with reading. And my brother wasn't capable of doing all of the normal reading that his age group would demand because of his dyslexia. So my mom actually was creative enough, and I'm gonna keep using that word creative because it's really important in my opinion. Now, my mom really worked with that and helped him learn at his level, but at the same time, she also understood that I am not someone who can just hear words and take them. I need to read them. So I would read books along with her at story time where we'd learn about history or math or whatever. She would understand that what my skill set was and what I needed to do to learn, and she would work with that. And at the same time, Elise, my other sister, could not for the life of her sit there and just listen to a story. She had to do something or she'd go crazy. So she was coloring while I was reading along with mom, and Grant was there too. And so we would be all engaged in different activities while learning. And that's something my mom really took advantage of, is what works best for each child and going with it, because it's not always the same, which we always wish it was, but it's not that simple. Another thing that I think is really important when homeschooling is prioritizing a community. Now, this is gonna be hard in a time of COVID. I fully recognize that. However, I also really know that one of the reasons I decided to stay homeschooling for so long, I was given the option to leave homeschooling many times over the years, and I chose never to go back to school, was because of my community. I was a part of 3 homeschool groups over the course of me being homeschooled, and I really enjoyed those experiences. Those people in those groups gave me interactions and gave me social outlets, but also didn't expect me to be at the same level as everyone else because we were a wide range of ages. And I remember being 12 years old and interacting with 18-year-olds at my homeschool group in the teenage, preteen section. I also was that 18-year-old interacting with 12-year-olds, and so I learned how to interact with a lot of different people with a lot of different ages, adults, younger, older, but I know that I had that community group. And so I don't know how this will work in a time of COVID, but I really recommend finding a homeschool group, finding a community group, finding some friends, a social outlet for your children to engage with others. And it could just be something online, it could be something with your local library, it could be anything. If it's something that your child can enjoy and then actually make friends with and have that social outwork, so it's not stifling and it doesn't feel lonely. Now, when I was younger, my parents gave us all the opportunity to do something outside the home, aside from our homeschool groups, and I chose to do theater. All of my siblings chose to do sports, I chose to do theater. And so I was a part of a theater company for a few years, and that was a really great time to go out of my home, out of my homeschool group, and just be socially involved with others. So I highly recommend that. I know it's gonna be really hard in this time of COVID, but those connections are really important to giving a child a foundation in social environments when you're not in a school setting, I think. I think the last thing that I wanna say in this video is don't give up. You can do it. And it might just be something where someone else has to teach that certain topic. I remember being taught science on an online course, which we quickly discovered was not the right learning style for me, and I was not able to learn anything. But I was able to go and visit a gentleman from my church who was a meteorologist, and he helped me learn all the weather section of science, and it was so wonderful And my parents definitely were like, we're not good at this. We need to outsource to someone we know who can help us with this. So don't be shy of asking others for help, asking someone to help tutor in a certain area. If math is not your skill, don't be afraid to ask for help. I think it's really important just to get the help the child needs and not worried about you have to do it all. But also, if it's not for you, that's not a shame either. It's not for everyone. It is not easy. There are hard days, but you can do it. And if it's not for you, then that's fine too. You are able to teach your child the things like manners and how to eat healthy or how to play with their siblings. So don't worry about the little stuff. If you can teach them social literacy, that's a way better skill than learning some extreme science problems. I know it's a hard world right now, and there's a lot of difficulty out there. And these are just my views from being a homeschool child, experiencing it with many other homeschool children. But I think that it's possible, and you just have to find what fits best for you, whether it be a desk setup, whether it be sitting on couches, or whether it be really freestyle and hanging out in the yard and luing out things outside and kinesthetic learning. Whatever works best, if you figure it out, it'll be a great learning experience no matter what, for you and for your child. You can learn too along with your child. You don't need to do it all first. So I hope that this has been a little helpful. I am always welcome to talk about it down and below in the comments, or if you want to DM me asking anything about this. I know it's going to be a time of trying and learning and difficulty up ahead, but I hope that there is some light at the end of the tunnel. I hope that there's hope for those who are struggling to figure out what homeschooling is to them and how they can do it. So I'll see you next time with another video. Bye for now.